So the next part of the process in the sales process is to be able to strategize. What do I mean by strategize? Well, if you don't have a strategy when you go out and sell, you aren't going to sell anything. You need to be able to look at everything, plan everything out before you even decide to go out. What did I mean? You need to have all your information up front. And if you don't feel comfortable with the information that you have up front, then you still don't go out and sell. Because if you try to go and sell without all the information up front, then you're gonna get flustered. First of all, what I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself some simple questions like, what is your goal that you're trying to achieve? Is it a sales goal number? Is it a number of things that you want to sell? Is it a financial number? Is it a book of business? Is it number of clients? These are things that you need to figure out ahead of time before you go out and you try to sell anything. You sit down and you plan. You know, they always say that the people that plan the most are the people that succeed the most, because you're sitting down there and you're coming up with a plan that's going to make you hit your goals. If you don't know how many sales calls that you need to make in order to hit your goal, how are you going to achieve your goal? If I gave you a bunch of things to go ahead and sell right now, and you're like, well, I just got to go out and sell. Well, how are you going to sell those things if you don't know what your ultimate goal is? A lot of times, either your company will give you a goal, or you specifically have a goal, or you have a financial number, or if you have a number of items you want to sell, you need to know, be very clear up front, and you need to be able to make that calculation ahead of time, and you do that. So how do you do that? You sit down with your business plan ahead of time, and you literally map that out. You take a calculator, you figure out what it is. In my course, we go over these things as well, but those are the things that you need to do. Is you need to sit down and you need to figure out what that number is that you're gonna achieve in order to hit that goal. And then you need to ask yourself the question, if there are no sales going on right now, why aren't there sales going on? Why are there a lack of sales? Is it something that's wrong with, let's say if you're selling a product, is there something wrong with the product? Is it something that the customer is frustrated with? Is it something with the inventory? Is it something with the fact that, maybe it just didn't resonate with the person, or they have objections that you haven't uncovered? These are things that you need to ask yourself. These are all questions that you need to figure out inside of you first before you go out there. Sometimes if you're coming into a book of business, there may have been a prior person in your business, there may have been a prior company, there may have been a prior representative, there may have been, someone else before you. They may have somehow dealt with something that was similar to your product, and they may have had a very bad experience. But unless you uncover that, unless you dig deep and figure those things out, you will have a hard time selling. So again, you sit down with your plan and you think about those things. What is causing the lack of sales? Ask people around you, ask the actual individual. Try to find out as much information as you possibly can to do your research to find out why there's currently a lack of sales that are going on. Now, then you need to ask yourself, what do you need to succeed? Are you prepared with everything that you do currently? Do you feel you have enough technical information? Do you feel that you can handle objections? Do you feel that you know how to answer anything if somebody asks you something? Do you feel that you have enough information? Do you feel like you need more training? Do you feel like you're competent enough to go out in the world and do what you're gonna do? These are questions that you need to ask yourself, and be honest with yourself. There's no point in trying to do anything in sales if there is something that's holding you up that you can't get answers to. There are a lot of resources when it comes to sales. Maybe you have somebody that you report to that you feel uncomfortable. Well, maybe you need to find somebody that you feel comfortable with so that you can go out there and sell. These are things that you need to think about, because if you want to succeed, you need to be very honest with yourself and ask yourself, do I have what I need to succeed? And if you don't, What are the things that you need to succeed? And get very, very specific about it. Now, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to write down your goals. Now, you've probably all heard of SMART goals. Well, they are very good because it helps you evaluate. When you sit down and you think about the things that are SMART. Now, what does SMART stand for? Well, SMART stands for specific. So you want to know that the goal is very specific to what you want to do. It can't be some like really broad thing that you're trying to accomplish. It has to be something that is very, very specific to your industry. What are you specifically trying to get to as far as your goal? The M means it's measurable. So can you measure it? Like, is there enough time where you can specifically measure that time frame of that goal? Then give it a time frame. That is very measurable. Like, you need to be able to measure it or it's not a great goal. The next thing is it achievable? Do you have the right tools like we discussed, right? Do you have enough information up front for you to achieve it? Do you need something to help get that to be more achievable? Do you need something? Do you need more training? Do you need something specifically that is going to help you achieve that goal? Well, if you do, then write that down and make that specific to your needs for your goals to achieve. Then the R is relevant. Is it relevant to what you're doing today? If it's not relevant to your current goal, then you push it aside for now because it needs to be able to be relevant for what you are trying to accomplish. And if it's not, then you toss it aside. And then finally, is it time bound? So time bound means that it has to happen within a specific amount of time. We know that it's measurable. Can you measure it, right? Like, can you specifically measure it? But then are you gonna get it done in the next whatever time frame that is? If it has to be done in the next month, is it possible for you to get it done in that next month? You have to be very specific when it comes to goals, and that's why these SMART goals are so very, very important to your business. The next thing that I want you to do is, now that you've asked these questions of yourself, now it's time to figure out and understand your client and their needs by building that relationship with the client. This is very, very important. So the first thing you need to do is you need to understand your customer, and as much as possible, you need to know about them, way about them ahead of time. So what do I mean by this? You need to really take the time to build a relationship with your client and your customer and get to know them up front. A lot of times, and I see this mistake happening over and over in sales, is that people just feel like they can go out there and sell something without knowing anything, having any background at all about somebody. Think about it. If you were to go out on a date with somebody, would you just like go and meet somebody at a bar and have a drink with them? Probably not. You've probably done your homework. You've probably made sure that they are somebody that's not a psychopath. Like, you are gonna specifically take your time to get to know as much as about somebody before you even talk to them. You're gonna try to find out things that are similarities, find out things that are potential issues that maybe you may have, not encountered yet. But you want to be able to learn as much as possible from that customer. And how do you do that? Well, it's called questions, but open questions, not closed questions like, how are things with your family? No, that is not going to help you get there. Of course, you want to build a little bit of that hi, how are you kind of thing in the beginning, but you want to get specific to the needs of the customer as quickly as you possibly can. Finding that out way ahead of time. Sometimes if it was somebody in there before you, then you want to be able to find that information out as well. So that is going to be very, very key to you. Then what I want you to do is I want you to rank your clients. Yes, the highest to the lowest priority. This may seem a little weird to you because you're saying, well, everybody is equal. Not so much. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about all the customers, all the clients that you have, and I want you to think about what is their potential. What is their highest potential to do business with you? What is the highest potential for them to be a competitor? What is their highest potential to do business with you or to do business with somebody else? Do they have a lot of potential volume? If they have a lot of volume, if they're highly sought after, if there's somebody that's really important. Now, here's the trick. Sometimes people go to the lower level, they don't rank them, they go to the lower level number person. So let's say I'm very busy, I'm very hectic, I'm an executive, I am really busy, but I have lots of business opportunity for you, but I scare you because you don't want to approach me because you're thinking you're going to offend me, or what do I do with somebody that's at high level? So you think, oh, well, I'm going to go talk to my sister's friend, Samantha, because she's like, a lower level person. She doesn't do a lot of business. She may not want to do anything with me, but you know what? I kind of feel more comfortable with her, so I'm going to talk to her first. The problem is, if you rank lower to higher, you never get to that ability to get to yourself, to sales quicker out of the gate. Your responsibility is to rank those people, and not that those people are less than, but you want to go for the higher quality people and select those as people that you want to target first, and have messages and be prepared to reach them. And so ranking them and scheduling them to have more frequent contact with them. You can still see the lower level, but they're not going to be as frequent of a contact, meaning you're not going to have as frequent reach out. You're not going to have as much reach and follow up either, because if you have somebody that's much lower level, you don't spend a lot of time with that, because if they're not going to produce a lot of business for you, why are you wasting your time? So it's very, very important for you to be ranking them and thinking about that from that perspective. Then I want you to ask yourself, what can you do to help them specifically? What specifically can you help them out with? This is very key, but this is only going to come with the line of questioning that you ask them. Your whole purpose with anything that you do is in that relationship. Because if you don't have a relationship with somebody and you can't ask them questions, then you're not going to be able to unravel the things that are going on with them. And when you ask the specific questions, I want you to ask it in a very consultative way, not in a very peppering kind of a way, of a very a style that really comes off bad to people. They don't want to deal with somebody who's aggressive and asking them questions in a very weird way. You want it to be very conversational, very, very conversational, like you're talking to your best friend, but you're just trying to uncover things and asking them questions. Wow, that sounds like that made you upset when you were dealing with that before. How did that make you feel? People want to know that they're being heard. And when you take that time to specifically figure out what is going on with them, they will appreciate you so much more. Then you want to create a plan, and a plan to attack each client, right? So I want you to think about a plan. Now I have a form that I can use, that you can use in my program, that you can pull up, that literally goes through account planning per person. You want to get to the specifics of each account and how are you going to attack them. I know this takes a lot more time maybe, but when you specifically outline what is going on with the individual, I promise you, your follow-up, your questions, your getting to know them relationship-wise is only going to foster an incredible amount of sales if you specifically take the time to do this. It's very, very important for you to figure out this plan ahead of time. And then what I want you to do is consider a follow-up strategy to meet with somebody every 2 weeks. Now, what I call this in my old world is a routing schedule. I would literally put down the very important, in my case, I was using cities, but you can use people, doesn't matter what it is. So you have like a month calendar where you literally put in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every day for 30 days. And every 2 weeks, you want to see those very high potential clients. And then you pepper in those smaller clients within those weeks that you see them, so that you have a visual. A lot of times we write things down, but we need sometimes a visual so that we see that we are going to attack those people. And what I mean by having a schedule is that you're clear and you're focused, and you know that you can go out and you can schedule to meet with that individual and sit down with them, strategize with them, have a Zoom call with them, have a telephone call with them, but you have a written out schedule that you know that you are going to go do that regardless of every week. Because if you have that, it keeps you focused, it keeps you on target to meet those goals that we have been talking about. Now, what I want you to do is be able to create that map and that plan to get to be where you want to be. It's very important that you map this plan out. That's very important to show you from A to C where you have to be in your schedule for you to meet that client where they have to be met. And then I want you to know, do you have a way to book your appointments or your calendars? If you're doing things online, then you need to make sure that you use something like a Calendly or appointment setter, an online appointment setter where people can actually book with you instead of you always having to follow up with people. Because what happens a lot of times is you can go back and forth. It's very easy to go back and forth with people all the time to try to schedule. How about Wednesday at 3? No, that doesn't work for me. How about Thursday at 2 p.m.? No, that doesn't work for me. I got something else. So if you have a scheduler with a link that you can send them, and then what you do is you go ahead and you block out your times that you're available. You block out the times that you're not available, and then you only have times that are showing that you're available, and then you send the link and you say, here, make it more convenient for yourself, block this on my time. Now, if you are meeting somebody in person, well, obviously you'll have your calendar with you. So you have your Google Calendar, whatever calendar that you use, and you specifically put it down on calendar. You do not leave the appointment until you have something scheduled on your calendar. Because if you don't plan the next meeting, you'll never have the next meeting. There's always going to be excuse. And of course, I get it. Things come up. You have to rearrange your schedule lots of times. I get that. But it's very important for you to make sure that you schedule your appointments all the time and that you have a plan in place. So I hope this helps you, and I'll see you in the next lesson.